What's up, guys? Hope you're having a good day. Hopefully this video will help you. We're going to talk about completing the square. So if you remember, go back to vertex form. Vertex form is a way that a quadratic can be written that tells us where the vertex is. Completing the square is something we can use to get to vertex form, okay? So let's talk a little bit. Let's do some problems here. So first, again, the same lesson, last lesson in this lesson. I didn't say it last lesson, but go through. Watch the videos or at least read the articles. Remember, little symbol here. I'm about to show you with my finger. That's stupid. But that little symbol there means article, okay? So let's just start jumping into problems. And let's just start working it out. So we have, what's the missing term in the perfect square that starts with x squared plus 6x? So this is just to start helping you learn how to complete the square. So how do you complete the square? Well, if you remember a little bit of when we started talking about perfect square trinomials, a perfect square trinomial is the back term, is one of the checks, okay? So we have x squared plus 6x. We're trying to figure out what is c going to be to make this a perfect square trinomial. Well, the process to do this is you take the b term. So remember, ax squared plus bx plus c. B is the coefficient there. So take b and divide it by 2 and square it. That equals c. Okay? This is if a is equal to 1. That's the key. A needs to be 1 in order to make this work. If a is not 1, then just pitch it out the window. It ain't working. Okay? So, if a is 1, which a is 1, so we're good. So 6, right? That is a 6. I can't write. Yes, so 6. So half of 6, so half of 6 squared, which is 3 squared, which is 9. So 9 is our answer. Let's do another one. Let's do another one. So we had this time x squared plus, x squared minus 4x. And we're trying to determine what will c be. Well, remember, we take half of b and square it, and that gives us our c. So take half of b. You may be like, oh, Jen, do I need a negative? It doesn't matter. If you take the negative or don't take the negative, it doesn't matter because you're squaring the term here. So whatever it is before, if it's negative, it's going to turn into a positive. And if it's positive, it stays positive. So we'll just take the numbers. So 4 divided by 2 squared is 2 squared, which is 4. There we go. The rest of them are pretty simple like that. So let's move on to intermediate. Sweet. Okay. So now we're actually going to complete the square. So let's write this problem down. So we have, oh, forgot. Okay, we have x squared plus 10x plus 25 equals 0. And we would like to complete the square. So how do we complete the square? Well, in order to complete the square, we first need to subtract c. So first step, move c. Okay? So we're going to subtract 25 from both sides. So now we have x squared plus 10x. Leave a blank here. Because now, the second step, this is why it's what it's called, is complete the square. This is where you actually complete the square. You do the thing we did just a minute ago. So take b and half it, and then square it. In this case, b is 10. So take half of 10 and square it. So half of 10 is 5. 5 squared is 25. So you add that number to both sides. Now it just so happens, and I knew this going into it and I didn't say anything. It just so happens that it was actually a perfect square before, but notice the process still works. Now that you have completed the square, you can write this as a perfect square trinomial. That's why it's called completing the square, because you are completing the square into a perfect square trinomial. That's why it's called what it's called, okay? So, and there's some geometric reasons why, but we will not get into that now. So how do you know what your trinomials, take the square root of the first term, square root of the last term, take the sign in front of 10, and square it. And then just simplify the other side, which just happens to be 0. 0. So there we go. X plus 5 squared equals 0. Let's do another one. Ooh, this one's good. This has f of x. Ooh, I like it. All right, so this time we have f of x. So let's write this down. We have f of x is equal to x squared plus 8x minus 29. So how do we complete the square if we don't have it set equal to 0? Well, then you're going to have to leave everything on one side. So we're going to have to leave this f of x here. But what we're going to do is create a set of parentheses. And I'm going to put a big space here because I got to put something here. Minus 29. Okay? Now let's complete the square. Take half of 8 and square it. So half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So we're going to add 16 in here. But you can't just go willy-nilly adding 16s just to one spot. Typically, we would subtract, or excuse me, add 16 over here, right? To whatever's over there. But we can't. Hold on, you can't see my mouse cursor, I forget. We would typically add 16 over here, so we added 16 on both sides of the equation. But you can't do that here, because we have f of x over there. So instead of adding 16 over the wrong, we subtract it back on the same side. So let's subtract 16 here. So now why does that work? Well, I just added 0 is all I did. Notice I did not change what the total value is on the right side of this, right side of this equation. I added 16 in one place, I subtracted 16 in another place. That's the same thing as just adding or subtracting 0. Doesn't do anything. So, now what do we have? Well, let's complete the square on the inside. Or let's actually figure out this squared binomial term. So we have x plus square root of 16 is 4 squared. And then simplify this. Negative 29 and negative 16, what was that, negative 45? Boom. That's it. So, there we go. Let me see if there's any more we run into. Is that 60? Nope. I was trying to do it in my head. That was a dumb idea. Oh, actually, you know what? I think it is 60. That's a negative 4. So square root of negative 6, or square root is half of, oh, no, it's 8. Half of 16 is 8. 8 squared is 64. We would subtract 64, so it's 12, I believe. Yeah, there we go. All right, let me make sure. This one's just like number 1. Take half of 4, square it, which is positive 4, and add 4 to both sides. All right, we're going to move on. Okay, rewrite the equation by completing the square, so let's do it. All right, so we have x squared plus 3x minus 28 equals 0. Now, if we're going to complete the square, we need to move this 28 to the other side. So let's add 28 to both sides. We get x squared plus 3x, leave a space, is 28. And so now we do our completing the square part. So we take half of 3 and square it, which is not a fun number. It's 9/4 because half of 3 is 3 halves. Squared is 9/4. So we're going to add 9/4 to both sides. I mean, this is not fun, but we're going to have to get over it, right? So we've got a perfect square trinomial here. It may not look like it because we see this fraction, but because you did this step, it is a perfect square trinomial. So how do you write it? Square root of that. Square root of this. Now don't sit there and take the square root of it. Go back. It's right there. Just write it down. Bring down the plus sign. Square the whole bad boy. And then 28 plus 9/4. Oh, what is that? That's 2 1/4. So that's 30 1/4. So 30 1/4 is 121 over 4. So we'll leave it like that. Right? 30 times 4 is 120 plus 1 is 121 over 4. And then this was 3 over 2. There we go. Let's do another one. Let's let you get a little comfortable with it. Ooh. All right. We're going to have to do another one of these in a minute because I can already see where this is going to go. Sweet. All right. So we've got f of x is equal to x squared plus x minus 30. So again, this is just like the problem in the last little set of lessons. Parentheses here, leave a space, bring out negative 30. And whatever we do in here, we need to do the opposite out here, so we're just adding 0 to the one side of the equation. So we're going to take half of the first number, or half of b, which is 1. So we're taking a half, literally, and squaring it to make 1/4. So we're going to add 1/4 in here. And we're going to subtract 1/4 in there. Or out there. So now, this is a perfect square trinomial. It's why we did this whole thing. This is x plus the square root of 1/4, which is 1/2. It's right there, guys. Right there. Don't reinvent the wheel. Squared. And then negative 30 minus 1/4 is negative 30 1/4, which happens to be negative 121 over 4. Again, I'm not going to sit there and keep going over the arithmetic on that. You should know the arithmetic by now. And I want you to notice there is a blank here. There's a blank there. And we don't have any numbers in front, so it's understood to be a 1. But you can already guess that we're going to have to deal with some things here. We're going to have to deal with some numbers in the front of that. Was it negative 121 over 4? Does it give us 1 finally? Oh, here it is. Oh. Let's move on. Actually, you know what? Let's do this one and let's do the next one. Yeah, I got time. We're going to move a little fast on this one, but 2x squared minus 11x plus 14 equals 0. And you can slow down the video as you need. First things first, go ahead and divide everything by 2. We need a to be 1. So divide everything by 2. So this becomes x squared minus 11 over 2. This is going to be a nasty completing the square. Plus 7 equals 0. So subtract 7 from both sides. X squared minus 11 over 2x equals negative 7. So we need to square that. So we're going to take half. We're going to take half of this. So how do you take half of it? Well, dividing by a fraction or dividing by a number is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. And then square that. So this is just absolutely bonkers. This is 121 over 16. So we're going to add 121 over 16 to both sides. Okay? This is a perfect square. So we have x squared, bring down, or excuse me, we have x minus, there's your number. There it is right there inside the parentheses. 11 over 4 squared equals whatever that bad boy is. I don't. Oh, 7 over 16. I ain't got that in my head, do I? 7 over 16. Is that 112? Shoot. Where is my phone at? If my phone was here, I'd use it. Something. Well, screw it. Oh, I got a sheet of paper here. 7 times 16. Yeah, it's a negative 112. So we have, let me just write this down then. It'll just be easier. Negative 112 over 16 plus 121 over 16. That happens to be a positive 9. So that's equal to 9 over 16. So your answer on this one is nasty. X minus 11 over 4 squared equals 9 over 16. So 11 over 4, 9 over 16. 11 over 4, 9 over 16. Negative 11 over 4, 9 over 16. There we go. Let's do the last one because I bet. There it is. We're going to have to put something there. You'll see. All right. So let's do this, okay? Let's work this problem out. This is going to be a 20-minute video. This is going to be a long video. Someone's bandwidth is just going to have to get over it. So h of x is equal to 2x squared plus 11x plus 15. So first things first, let's isolate the two first terms like we've been doing and leave 15 out here. Plus 15, okay? Now you need to pull this 2 out first before you even complete the square. It's not fun, but you're going to have to do it. So pull the 2 out. So if you pull a 2 out of that, you get x squared plus 11 over 2x. Because if you pull an 11 out of 2, in other words, you divide it by 2, right? So if you pull 11 out of 2, you're dividing it by 2. Now you got to complete the square. Now, don't reinvent the wheel. You just did it a minute ago. Remember, 11 over 2 times 1/2 is 11 over 4. And square that bad boy for 121 over 16. I'm not looking forward to this over here, but we're going to have to get over it. So we have equals to 2 times, oh man, get ready for this, x squared plus 11 over 2 x plus 121 over 16 plus 15. And then you may be like, all right, so subtract 121 over 16. No, it's not that simple. And the reason why it's not that simple is that 2. Okay? So technically, we didn't add 121 over 16. Technically, we added 2 times that. 2 times 121 over 16. Which again, 2 goes into 16 8 times. Technically, we added 121 over 8 to both sides. Technically, we did. So instead of, in fact, I'm going to leave it in blue. Instead of subtracting by 121 over 16, we're going to subtract by 121 over 8. So, moral of the story here. Make sure you pay attention there. Anytime you have to pull a number out, I'm going to use another color here. Here we go. Anytime you have to do this thing here, get ready. Completing the square just gets that much nastier. You may have to do it, and you just may have to get over it, okay? But it is what it is. This is how you do it, okay? You pull the number out first, and then when you complete the square on the inside, you multiply the c term times the number in front, and then you do opposite. Excuse me, then you subtract it from here. Okay? So, c term times a, or I guess technically it is a, and then you subtract it from over there, okay? Let's finish the problem. So now we have 2 times, this is a perfect square, this is x plus, right, plus, yep, plus, was 11 over 4, because we take half of b. There it is right there. Remember, don't reinvent the wheel. There it is right there. Squared. And then we need to fix this here. So we've got, I'm just going to write it over here. 15 minus 121 over 8. 15, so that's what, 40 and 80, that's 120. So 120 over 8 minus 121 over 8. Huh, this happens to be 1/8. Check the math again on that. We're about to find out if we're right, but I'm pretty sure it's right. So minus 1/8. So now the answer is, and I'm about to write this down on a sheet of paper over here so I can type it in 2, 11 over 4, and negative 1/8. Okay? 2, 11 over 4, negative 1 over 8. Let's see. Boom! So we did get the problem right in 20-minute video like I thought. This is going to be one of the harder lessons you do. This one lesson. It's very difficult. I'm telling you, okay? Practice it. If I need to, I can put up another video on some more of these problems on completing the square and go find a worksheet if I really need to. Message me on Remind or email me. My email is on the website if you haven't already noticed. Or you can, I guess, post a comment on the YouTube page, I guess, either one. If it comes out to it, I might try to find time for a Google Hangout, or I might stream on Twitch doing some problems, or I might stream on YouTube. That actually makes more sense to stream on YouTube. We'll see. Right now my schedule is pretty tight, to be honest with you. But I'm doing my best to help you guys out. So I hope this helps in some way. That finishes up all the content up to that. Okay, we get it. That bothers me. Oh well. We finished all the content up to that, so you're at quiz 3 now. Let's do this. Let's see if this fixes it. No, it's just stuck. Cool. Bothers me. So you're up to quiz 3 now. Next video, I'll go into the quadratic formula. And then that should be one video. And then quadratic standard form, we'll talk about that. And then the last one, we may not get through all this in one video. There's probably no way. I'll probably have to split this into 2 videos, and then this will be a video by itself. So hopefully that helps you guys out. If not, again, find a way to message me, and I'll help you any way I can.